Hey everybody, Steve Ritter, Villa Stokes' son again, if you don't know by now. So been doing these videos for a while now and kind of, again, doing some cooking, basically things that interest me, which, you know, talking with mom before she passed, that was the whole idea, was to keep the channel going. The spirit of it and everything else is mom posted videos of things that she found interesting and things that she enjoyed doing, and so she did a little bit of everything. So what I was going to do today, folks just seem to be fascinated with my yard, so I'm kind of go around again and kind of show you an update on where everything's at and what's going on with the yard now. So we'll take a little turn around the yard. I got to go. Got my handy dandy bucket here. I've got my rainwater that I'm catching off the roof. That I keep in a trash can and use that. I'm going to go get some and water my indoor plants that I've got to work on now. So we'll go take a little turn around the yard now. So and I'll show you where everything's at. So stand by one. All right. So we're walking around outside. Drop the bucket here. Walking around out. This is the back porch here. So this is some hydrangeas. These are limelight, not stoplight, like I said last time. These are limelight. Now these have bloomed. Now this is the best that these have ever been, because in the past we've had them in the yard, out around the house, and the deer, of course, love hydrangea, and they just ate all the leaves off and eat the flowers off, and then they never had a chance to really to shine. But here they go. Now these are kind of neat because you got to kind of cut them back, and they only flower on new growth. So, which is pretty cool. So this was cut, like here you can see where it was cut last year, and the stick just kind of came up, and I cut it right there, and it grew off to the side. And the new growth is where you can see here all this is new growth here, these branches here. So that's all new growth, and that's what the flowers come on. So that's why you kind of cut that back every year. It's kind of like crepe myrtles. These are my trees in the backyard. These are wax myrtles, which in the late summer, early fall, they produce these tiny little purple berries that are about the size of an eraser, pencil eraser. Even smaller than that, really, but they're really fragrant smelling purple berries. But they used to, back in the day, there's a waxy coat on them. People would take them and boil them and skim off the wax and make candles from it. And also it's called bayberry. You may see those candles around, bayberry candles. But over the years, the last couple of years, you can see I've kind of lifted them up. I cut some of the lower branches off and kind of lifted up the wax myrtles there. I don't like that look a lot, and also it makes it easier to mow the grass underneath it too. So it's kind of nice. These birds there, see that bird right there? He's looking for a worm, I think. There's worms all in the yard here. It's kind of cool to see right there. That was a bare patch. That used to be a tree that when we moved in, it died shortly afterwards, so we had it cut out. And it, of course, as it leaves roots behind, and as the roots die, it kind of sinks in. So I put this year, I put in some, it was always kind of a bare patch. I put in some dirt, and then as I went around the yard, I took up some of the grass, and as I pulled it up, because this is centipede grass, by the way. As it grows, it puts out these tendrils, spreads all out, and it roots down, and that's how it spreads. It looks like a centipede, that's why they call it that. So, and I used that and planted that there to kind of cover that patch up. That's covering up nice. So here's my Cherokee purple tomato, and you can see, got one of them here that's it's getting ripe. It's got those green streaks on it. It'll kind of purple up here as it ripens. This one is kind of a freakazoid one here. This is one tomato right there. It's kind of a freakishly large. See this split here? It's kind of heirloom tomato. think I've heard technique is to put Epsom salt in when you plant the tomatoes, and it strengthens that's probably telling me it's probably watered it a little too much. That's what's going on there. Now this is my peanut plant, so it's coming along fine, growing fine. That's from those ones the last time I showed you where I put them on the plate and let them sprout. Well, after it sprouted, I planted it, so it started coming up. I'll show you the other ones. So we just had some pine straw put down. Got a lot of rain lately. Feels like it's about to rain again. So my rain barrel was empty yesterday and filled up. So this is that hybrid stripy, Mr. Stripey tomato plant here. And it's just not flowering. It's just not producing any flowers, and I'm about to uproot that thing. I put it back here just to get it off the porch because it looks pretty scraggly, but it's just not producing. So, and I moved the squash out here too. This is still doing pretty well. It's got certainly producing flowers now. I've got one little measly squash off. I suspect it's probably because it's not in the ground and it's not getting enough nutrients, I guess. But I tell you, when I lived in Oklahoma, I had a squash plant there. I couldn't give it away fast enough. So this is the potato plant that I grew from the skins, and one came up. Now this right here is I think some Japanese beetles got to that. You can see the holes in the leaves, just beetles that have been going around eating stuff. Deer have kind of kept away from this, thankfully, but then around here I got, these are all peanut plants, so I planted them all. Now somebody made a point of saying, well, hey, look, if you want them to sprout, seeds sprout in the ground where it's dark, and you ought to do that. A couple of them had already sprouted. Well, I took the other ones and just planted them, and guess what? They sprouted and took off. So I'm kind of excited about this. I'm hoping that, with this humid climate that we're going to get some peanuts there. I'm looking forward to that. Here's my rain barrel. It filled up in a day. Got a little beetle in there. It comes right off the roof there and comes down right into there. The trick is, when it really rains hard, the water will come, and I have to try to maneuver the barrel to situate it right. So, some lamandra. You got to cut the grass over there. They come into my yard sometimes. It's a little frustrating. So, I had a garlic plant. In fact, here it is. This was or is it? I had a garlic plant here, and I think that it's just too hot, and it's just not there. So I think I pulled it up. I think anyway, it's just too hot right now for garlic to do well. That's what I'm running into. So, but that's some lamandra. I thought this stuff was gonna die. I replanted it a couple of years ago, and it's just keeps growing because it drips right off the roof there, so it gets plenty of water. Tea olives are growing. You can see the new growth here too. Now I cut this back. You can see where I cut, trying to flatten it out, and you can see all the new growth. I mean, the tea olives get real leggy, and they'll get real long and skinny, and you got to kind of keep them cut back if you want to thicken them up. So that's what I've run into there. These bushes are going nuts too. All this new growth, I'm probably gonna have to clip that back in the fall. Here's my crepe myrtle. Again, just like the hydrangea, it only flowers on new growth, so you can see where I clipped it off. And you see some of those old trees where they do that in Europe, or you see the big knobby looking ugly things. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I probably could keep cutting this out a little wider, but it's pretty nice. Got some nice flowers coming up on it there. And then here's my squash here in the front, the dill. I kind of cut this back, and it's starting to flower and all that. When it bolts like that, it just when plants bolt like that, it's never the same. So it's all it seems to be producing now is flowers, although it still smells like dill, but that's anyway. Here's my potato plant. Now it's kind of died off, and I'm curious if there's any potatoes in here. So let's kind of pull this up and see. Pull this up out of the ground, see if we get anything. So yeah, this was just from a potato that sprouted. So that's all we got. Just two little measly, tiny little potatoes. I guess those are kind of new potatoes, huh? Yeah, I think it just gets too much water here, and the soil's not very good here on the side of the house. So I'll set those aside and use those later. Move around to the front porch. Well, before we do that, I've planted another crepe myrtle here. This one, between the deer coming along, I think, but mostly I think it's those beetles. They got the potatoes, but they come along and they'll munch. You can see here, beetles have munched these leaves down. But I've got a whole bunch of new growth on here, so that's good. Hopefully this will do well. And this is sweetgrass. Grows a lot around here in the low country, and if you've ever heard of the sweetgrass baskets, that's where that comes from. And they'll take this stuff and cut it, and they'll weave baskets out of there, and that comes from the gullah culture. They do a lot of that back in the old days, but there's still that culture going along. And here's the front porch garden. Took all the lettuce out because again it bolted, took off, and the leaves are just bitter. So I just pulled them all up and probably plant some new lettuce in there. But the thyme's doing really well. It's growing really well. The parsley is fine, but again, you kind of get these bolts, these things that kind of come up, and you get these real skinny parsley leaves. It's not like the big ones, real flavorful ones that you see a lot. Try to pick these out, and again, when it starts flowering, I'll go in and pick them out. Chives are still doing real well. You can see this, we cut back some here and used it the other day for some food. Basil, again, I'm looking for any kind of flowers or anything else. I want to kind of keep those pinched back and cut back. And here's these green onions that I talked about the last couple of times. So we bought a pack of green onions and I used for a dish. Kept the bottom about 3 inches when we planted them. And we've been cutting off these things for a while now. When they turn colors like that, I just pick them off. But you know, you can see where I've pinched some off and put some in soup or whatever. If I've made ramen noodles or something, I'll use them, and I can just pinch off that for as long as it goes. But you can see this is all Miracle Grow soil planted. You can see how rich it is. These are the roots from the lettuce left over, and this stuff just goes nuts in here growing. So this right here is kind of cool. This was some celery that I'd use for the baked potato soup, and I just stuck the bottom part in, and after I cut it off, I kept again about the bottom 3 inches and planted it just to see what would happen, and there it is. It's starting to grow now. So it's like a perpetual motion machine. It just keeps coming, just like those green onions. So I pulled one cilantro out, and you can see here, this is one. See when it starts, it gets these flowers, and you get these little tiny leaves in here, and it bolts like that, and it's just never the same. So if you got to keep it cut back so it doesn't take off and bolt, I think. I don't know, but if you give me your thoughts, what you guys think. But and here's the mint. Of course, you can't kill mint. So just keeps coming back. And juleps or whatever, ice cream, something, you can have it with that. I'll pinch some off. Sometimes just munch on them. So anyway, that's the yard. So that's the latest update, and I'll update you if I put anything new out. So that's the plan. All right, see ya.